Ma'am, one simple question. What is this debate about today?
This debate is about the proposition identifying a problem and trying to provide us with a solution. And this debate has failed on the part of the proposition because, ladies and gentlemen, there is a problem-solution mismatch.
Ma'am, would you rather have US dominating the internet or the countries
So why don't
having
you
an equal
realize
say
our
in
solution?
internet?
Our solution is simple. Decentralization. We have a bottom-up solution, protecting the two integral parts of the internet, freedom of expression and innovation. And a possible solution for the internet community to consider is alternative DNS servers, not US dominating, sir. Please realize this.
Ma'am, even if you were to decentralize power, we believe in your paradigm, USA will still conquer the internet, ladies and gentlemen, because USA has the biggest share, will at the end of the day have the biggest share of the internet.
Please realize, when we mean a decentralized body, ladies and gentlemen, we believe that there is minimum interference by the domestic governments and no, not at all an international body. And so therefore we believe that the users themselves can initiate solutions if they want to. And if further improvement is needed, it has to be decentralized, bottom up, and protecting the two integral parts of the internet. Yes, sir.
Ma'am, you still haven't explained to the House as to what your decentralized model is. Are the governments going to have a say? Am I going to have a say in it as well? Because if I own a server in my house, will I be able to control a part or a fraction of the internet, ladies and gentlemen? Because I will
since you're a user, you will definitely have a say. And as for the governments are also stakeholders of the internet. They can have their own websites, but they do not infringe on the rights and freedoms of the netizens, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, sir.
Ma'am, you do realize that in the status quo, the governments can censor information and curtail the right to
We completely disagree with censorship, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that censorship is justified on political reasons. As we have seen in the Second World War, the Nazi regime had censorship, and so no one in the world got to know about what was happening, the atrocities that were committed. The same thing will happen because of censorship, curtailing freedom of expression, curtailing innovation, ladies and gentlemen.
Ma'am, don't you realize the fact when you decentralize power, when countries like China, Russia, they will play a bigger role.
Sir, like the Arab Spring, it's up to the users to assert their rights. And we see that happening already in China, in Russia, where the netizens themselves are asserting their rights on the internet, ladies and gentlemen. And one day, a day will come when the users themselves will free themselves of the government. Yes, sir, your question.
According to her, ladies and gentlemen, all the users will have control over governance. For example, if I own a server in my house, I can charge every person out there as much as I want. If I want my neighbor to pay me $1 million for 1 gigabyte of data, ladies and gentlemen, I can do it.
So we see that you have a practicality problem with this, which means you agree with us, which means, ladies and gentlemen, the proposition have given us the debate because they agree on us on a principle level. So they believe that decentralization is good. They only have a minor practical problem, which I'm sure we can get together and solve.
Ma'am, you do realize that internet governance means the governing power over the root of the internet, which means that the one who has the governing power over the root has the power to censor information as well.
That's exactly what we are saying. The moment an international body assumes the control of this core, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the internet as we know it now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we know for a fact that China censors everything on their internet, ladies and gentlemen. And we see that what China has today is not exactly an internet, but rather a sort of an intranet, ladies and gentlemen. On their paradigm, what will happen is that all the countries will have an intranet of their own. We will no longer be able to access all the information
what you have to realize, sir, is that this decentralization is not for the governments, it's for the users, sir. And you also have to realize the moment an international body comes, China and Russia will use the international body as a forum to legitimize their suppression and censorship, ladies and gentlemen.
Ma'am, this debate is about whether or not a new global body should take over. But you are not defending the existing body.
I do not take your questions, ladies and gentlemen. Let me continue, ladies and gentlemen. We see that yet still Anand has not proved to to us their burden of proof. They have identified a problem. ICANN is being centralized by the US. What is their solution? Yet another centralized body, suppressing people's freedom of expression, suppressing people's innovation. We believe if I am being cyberbullied, I can report it to the website. If I am being hacked, my account is being hacked, I can seek justice through the research system. Solutions are there, domestic laws are there, the internet is free proposition. Please leave the netizens alone. Do not infringe on the freedom of the internet.
Back, bro. The heat is definitely on at Stein Studios. This is a grand finale of the debater. You can hear the crowd going wild, but there's only one more round remaining. And before we go into that round, Kavinda, what do you think we should do right now?
Before we move on to one of the most heated rounds of the grand finale, in fact, the last and final chance you get to see these debaters on stage, let's move on to a very short commercial break. Stay tuned. The round-up speech has the potential to either make or break a team. The responsibility that lies within the last speaker is of much importance. And hereby let me invite the opposition speaker representing Lyceum, Kavin Ratnavira.
Gentlemen of the House, what has Team Ananda told us today? That they have a problem with how the internet is governed. And we agree to you. But let me point out to you, Team Ananda, that does not win you a debate. A problem does not win you a debate, ladies and gentlemen. What wins you a debate is when you prove your burden of proof, ladies and gentlemen. And Team Ananda has failed to do that. How have they failed to do that, ladies and gentlemen? They simply came here and reiterated what was on the board at the beginning of this debate. They told us that we need to establish an international body. But why? They told us that the current system curtails freedom of expression. But we showed you that the curtailment of freedom of expression happens because, ladies and gentlemen, of centralization. And we told you that centralization on a principle and a practical level does not work, ladies and gentlemen. And we reiterated and proved this point, and we drove it home, ladies and gentlemen, by showing you examples of the United Nations failing. But what did Team Ananda come here and tell us, ladies and gentlemen? They continuously repeated that, look, the United States of America is abusing the people in America and all around the world. China is going to make an alternative DNS system and completely violate people's human rights. But isn't China already doing that, ladies and gentlemen? Doesn't China already do that through the United Nations? And we believe the same thing will repeat itself in the future. But what did Team Lyceum tell you, ladies and gentlemen? Our burden of proof today was to actually disagree with Team Ananda on an international body. But we took one step forward for the netizens of the world, and we showed you, ladies and gentlemen, how our solution, an alternative DNS system, will work. An alternative DNS system, ladies and gentlemen, will be checked and balanced through competition between different DNS servers, ladies and gentlemen. We told you that that is the best checking mechanism that the world can ever see. What did Team Ananda say? They told us, look, someone will come and charge me 1 billion rupees for a domain name. Have you ever heard about economics, ladies and gentlemen? Demand and supply? That does not happen. Ladies and gentlemen, therefore, we clearly proved to you today that they have not met their burden of proof. But Team Lyceum has, ladies and gentlemen. So stop trying to tame the dog by caging it. Let it free. Let the netizens free, ladies and gentlemen. And stand strong, because we can fight for our freedom. Thank you.
We've heard arguments being fired back and forth. We've seen emotions run wild on this stage. But in this debate, 2 more minutes remain. There is a saying that the one who laughs last laughs the longest. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, to summarize this debate for Ananda College, Colombo, it's Oshada Abhaya Sundara.
Ladies and gentlemen, both the sides agreed upon the fact that the freedom of expression should be protected and that minority rights should not be oppressed. And ladies and gentlemen, the side opposition, from their very first speech itself, they contradicted their whole stance. They went against the current global body which they were supposed to defend, ladies and gentlemen. And unfortunately, that is what the side proposition did as well. So thereby, they agreed to our principles. They did not fulfill their objective. They did not fulfill their duty in this night, ladies and gentlemen. And also, they said that the current body has a centralized system and they're actually opposing it. But ladies and gentlemen, what was the debate about? The debate was about whether or not a new global body should take over. So thereby, we as a responsible side proposition, we went against the current global body and said that a new global body should take place. But what was that the side opposition did? They simply came up here and they agreed upon our principles, and they said that they go against the current system as well, and they even proposed a model, ladies and gentlemen. They said that they are empowering the individual governments, but again contradicting themselves, they said that they are against censorship. But ladies and gentlemen, we see that in the status quo, it is the individual governments that handle censorship the most. So if you go out there and empower them, if you go out there and empower individual governments, then the so-called freedom of expression would not be there at the end of the day. And that is why the side proposition, as a responsible side proposition, we came up with a multi-stakeholder model where the whole globe will be represented, not just United States of America, ladies and gentlemen, which infringes upon the freedom of expression that the side opposition was standing for. Thereby, the side opposition which did not fulfill this duty should not win this debate, and thereby Mother Ananda should be the champions of the debater. Thank you.
Four rounds of amazing arguments. We've heard 8 speakers at their very best. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go any further, we'd now like to give time for our judges to retire to the deliberation room, as they have a very important decision that they need to make. They need to decide tonight who will become the champions of the debater on MTV Sports. So let's give our judges a round of applause and give them the time that they need to make this very tough deliberation. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and give a round of applause to your judges, who will now go to their deliberating room and make a really tough decision. Our 7-member expert panel of judges, ladies and gentlemen, please give them a round of applause. The decision that they have to make tonight is by no means easy. It was a very closely fought out debate. It could be either Ananda, it could be Lyceum. We don't know, but we'll have to give them enough time to make sure that they go into the deliberating room and make the right decision. Ladies and gentlemen, please, another round of applause for our judges.
While the judges retire to the deliberation room to make the decision of the evening, let us move to a very short commercial break. Stay tuned.